Welcome to today's episode of the Spirit Mom podcast. And joining us is Yvette LeFlore, a master Reiki practitioner who has the ability to see the blind spots that keep us from living and being our fullest expression. She taps into her own intuition, connects with her guides, her husband Walter being one of them, and universal love to bring her sessions to life. Yvette, welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here. We've had some really good conversations in the past.
Looking forward to sharing and being with you.
I would love if you would just tell our listeners a little about your journey to becoming a healer.
It's not a typical, I don't think it's a typical story. I woke up one day. I always had an interest in psychics and mediums and all of that stuff. And I had a friend who was teaching Reiki to students, and I was a guinea pig to receive Reiki. And so I was getting Reiki. And one day I woke up and I got this clear message. I heard, you need to go to see a medium today. And I knew who I needed to see. So I went to see her, and she used cards. And so we put the cards out on the table, and I put my hands on the cards. She put her hands on mine, and she said, do you do Reiki? And I said, yeah, I get it once a month. And she said, no, do you do it? And I said, no. And she said, well, you need to. And I was like, sure. Because I believe, like, the fact that I woke up that morning and heard the message that I needed to see her that day. And there were some other things that she shared with me during the session that were pertinent. I knew I needed to follow the guidance. And so I connected with the person that I had been getting Reiki from, who also taught, and started my journey. And that was about 13 years ago. And I learned and entered into really opening up my intuitive abilities, my healing abilities, and the opportunity to work with others.
Oh, that's beautiful. But you've also stated that your husband Walter supports you from the spiritual realm during your sessions. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm going to tell you that the emotion comes up.
Absolutely.
So he was very supportive of me transitioning from job or the work that I've been doing for 28 years into healing journey. And then he was diagnosed with cancer, and it was about an 18-month journey with that. And during that time, we had a conversation, probably within his last 4 months living in this physical world. We had always talked about working together because he also did acquire that as you were. We never did that. And I said to him, I actually think that we're going to work together once you transition, and you're going to be my partner on the other side. And that's what has happened. Not only is he my partner in the spiritual realm in my life, but he will show up during sessions. I've seen him show up. I've had clients tell me, like, I could feel him. He has told me through a medium that he mirrors me. So if I'm on one side, he's on the other. So yeah, it's almost like a twofer when you do a session. To me, you get,
well, now these clients that can feel him, did they know Walter?
They know of Walter through me because I very openly share my journey as a caregiver, and then as someone who is experiencing anticipatory grief, and then the grief after his death. Openly share that journey. And so people feel like they know Walter even if they didn't know him.
Oh, beautiful. How do you begin your sessions? Like, we had a conversation one time about how you quiet your mind to do the lead-in.
So before someone has a session with me, whether it's in person or distance, because energy healing can be done in both ways, I take about half an hour beforehand to just sit and to be still and to be quiet. And I have meditative music. In my new office space, I can't light a candle, but, I have the presence of mind that there's a candle there. And I just go inside, listen, and just be still and process out any of the day's stuff that needs to leave so that I can be fully present with someone who I'm doing a session with. And then when we start the session, there's actually a conversation about what's the intention for today. because that's an important piece. It's not like we go right into the energy work. There's creating the intention, because that's a big part of energy work, is the intention set.
And how do you start creating that intention with a client?
I would simply say, Shawl, tell me, what do you want to focus on? That's, and the thing with energy work is, so we're humans doing something that is beyond us when we do energy work.
Right.
As a human, we can set an intention like, I've got the pain in my hip, or I'm really agitated about this, or I'm really feeling the grief of loss, or whatever it may be. And that's all well and good. We can create that intention, but the universe also has like this ability to see way beyond what we can. And it's like, okay, this is what Shaw and Yvette want to work on, but there's a few other things we're going to bring into the session. So there's an all-knowing that assists in the work.
That's beautiful. And then it is energetic work. And we're going to talk a lot about that, because it really relates to why it's possible for us to connect with our children on the other side, for you to connect with Walter. So, but let's start with, what are some of the energetic ways that you use to clear space, mind, body, soul, when someone's coming in with issues there?
There's many different ways. One is, I do find for some people, clearing their self space, it needs to be done in an active way, whether it's running, walking, swimming. But there's a need to move that physical energy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about a physical space, you can use sage, you can use essential oils, you can use crystals, my favorite. And you can also use a prayer, meditation. And then, because I'm a Reiki Master teacher and I teach people how to move and work with their own energy, you can use Reiki energy and other forms of energy to clear space.
Let's talk about the benefits of doing some of this clearing, like clearing doubt or clearing negative energy that's going on with somebody, especially when they come into a Reiki. They don't know what Reiki's all about. And you do long distance Reiki as well. So that adds another layer of doubt or even negative thoughts, especially if somebody wants to have a session and they share it with a friend or family member and they're like, yeah, over the phone, over the internet. No, but I know it's true. I know it exists. I've had examples of that. So talk about how you clear a little bit of that out for people.
Well, I can't necessarily clear doubt out for people, right? That's something that has to come within. But what I will say is, let's talk a little bit about the difference between the sensing, the energetic. What is that energy? Is it doubt, or is it an outside force? So the doubt is like this quiet whisper that shows up underneath it all. And is this really going to work? Am I worthy of this healing? Like all of that whisper stuff. And that is one of the things we do, is have a conversation. And with the long distance healing, one of the things I'll say to people is, listen, you and I are talking on Zoom, or you and I are talking on a cell phone, or we're talking on a live platform. Like, how the heck is this working? We don't see the waves of energy that are working, but here we are. And so it's the same thing with energy healing. The traveling, and the beauty of energy is it knows where to go, and our bodies know how to receive it. So even though our minds may be like, I don't know if this is going to work, our bodies do. And I remember the first time that I received distance healing. Now, the person I was receiving it from lived a couple miles away, but it was just easier for me to get a distance session. And I was like, is this really going to work? And I was laying on bed, and I had 3 cats at the time. 2 were very loving, and 1 never would allow me to touch her, hold her, nothing. So I'm laying on the bed, I've got the blankets on, I'm in the session, my eyes are closed, I'm just being, and all of a sudden I feel a cat lay on my leg. I'm like, okay, that must be, I name the 2 cats, and I wake up because sometimes you fall asleep during a session. I get to the end of the session and I look, and it's the cat that never allowed me to touch her.
Wow.
So animals know this energy works. They don't have to be proved. Or they don't have to have the proof of it saying the same thing. They're just like, yeah, this is great. what can happen? And that's what, as humans, if we can do that, if we can push the doubt and the negativity and all of those voices aside and just allow it to happen, it is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I use in order to help facilitate, because what we're really talking about is trust, trusting the energy, trusting universal love, trusting the one, the divine source. And so I have people keep a journal about it, or any time that they feel like they've received, write it down, because once you build a catalog of that over time, it's a way to help clear that down. And as far as the negative energy, the way that I generally facilitate that is, and it's tough because a lot of people will just tell you can't connect, child, with that, this doesn't work. And so keeping that journal and asking and being in practice, a spiritual practice. So do you talk about having a practice outside of coming in for Reiki sessions?
Yeah, definitely. I love the idea that you have people journal because there are a lot of naysayers out there. And like we come into a session and feel really good, and then they leave and they go to tell somebody else about it, and they're like, "What? That doesn't work." And so, yes, sometimes we need to keep it to ourselves or find our tribe of people that we can have that conversation with. But keeping
Or
it,
find what?
call it a tribe of people, the
Oh,
people that believe the same and understand and are open to accepting. And they're like, this is what happens to my mind. So it just went in 8 different directions in this person. One of those
no, I
directions
know.
was I wanted to say, I hear over and over again that I create an incredibly safe space for people. And that I think is part of developing your connection and your
Yeah.
intuition and your openness to hearing from your loved ones is having a safe space. So whether it's another individual, whether it's creating a room, a chair that you sit in, woods that you walk in, like it's where there might be a place that you go where you find that it's easier for you to have those conversations with your loved ones, which or whoever it may be that you're connecting.
Now you use crystals in your sessions as well. Talk to us about that.
Well, crystals, unlike humans who vacillate with energy based on, what is impact our day, have a steady energy. And they each have their own energy and their own properties. And so if we're working on something in particular, like I didn't practice or I don't know. There is a crystal called Apache Tears, which is really wonderful for grief work. And so if I were working with someone who was doing grief work, I would utilize this crystal. It's really good for the base chakra, which is the safety and security. And grief is, in order to do grieving, I found for myself and for the clients that I work with, need a safe, secure space. And crystals are, I call them silent supporters. So we talk about maybe out in the world, there might be people who may not believe in what we believe in, but you can bring crystals, they just look pretty, but they are emitting an energy that our bodies recognize. And so they're supporting our bodies without other people having to know that we've got the crystals.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a crystal right now that helps for grounding. And I have a crystal that's very good for the voice because I knew that I was coming to speak with you today. So I wanted throat chakra.
Oh, beautiful. And what got you interested in crystals? Because that wasn't the first modality you went to.
No, it wasn't. I think it was going in. They're just pretty. I've been going to crystal shops and and this is advice I give to people, is don't look at the meanings of the crystal. Just walk around. And when something calls to you, like you feel like, oh, there's something about this crystal. I'll tell you what, you grab it, you put it in your hand. Some people will feel the energy and the vibration of crystals. I actually do not, but there's like this inner knowing. And then I'll read what the crystal's for, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was attracted to it. And that's where it started. And then I took a course, a 3-month course in crystals. So I work with the crystals in my energy healing. And I also do crystal divination, which is readings, like card readings, but with crystals.
I actually want to share a little story because you've mentioned cards twice now. And one of the very first messages I received from my son came through a tarot card reader. And one of his friends had, on a whim, gone into a spiritual bookstore, had a reading with this young man, and he said enough about Levi's memorial that I felt the need to go. And it had just only been a couple of months, right? And at the time, I was wearing a star that had some of his ashes in it. And I pulled up to the threshold and I took the star off the chain. I put it in my hand, put my keys on to cover it. But I said, Lee, even if this guy is a total freak, I need you to speak to me through him and mention this star. And so I went into the session, and I don't know anything about tarot. Now I realize it's a tool to get into an energy space. And so he says there's different methods of reading the cards, and he's choosing this certain method. I don't remember the name of it. But what it meant was he had to focus on one of 13 cards. I'm choosing the star. I don't know why. I start to cry. I go, honey, I show him the star. In that session, he said a number of things, but one of the most powerful was, he said, there's a woman left behind. And I started to nod my head because he had just moved back to town. I thought he was going to get back together with this girl. But as I'm shaking my head, he goes, but you don't know her. And I'm like, oh, okay. Being that early in the grief, I left, even with that kind of powerful stuff, I left a little, I don't know, that doubt. But I get home from that session and I get a private message from a girl in Montana. My son had traveled a lot to work. She says, you don't know me, but I loved your son. But Jane, I think that message, so very powerful, very powerful. Yeah.
They're priceless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would like you to talk a little bit about the distance sessions because, moms, a lot of times you can't be in front of a psychic medium and, you need to do it on the phone or on a Zoom call. And that adds another level of distrust. Can I trust this? How can it even work? She's not in the room with me. And I've had successful distance readings as well. So, but tell us what happens in that. What's that process, that energy?
Hard when we do a distance session, and when I spoke a little bit earlier, I said that the first part of the session is a conversation, and so we are through Zoom connecting and having a conversation, and that actually starts the energetic flow. It starts earlier when I'm sitting down and doing the intention work. In fact, I had a distance session with someone yesterday, and she started to feel the energy like 30 minutes before we started. And my ritual around the work that I do.
Right.
So in that conversation, that's where that starts, that feeling like, oh, I can tell you that. So that people will open up and they tell me stuff. And they're like, I never told anybody this before. So there's a state space that's created. And then energetically, like we talked about earlier with Wi-Fi and cell towers, phones and all of that, it is working, it's connecting through the distance. And as a receiver, for about 40 minutes that you're receiving the focused energy, some people may feel things, see things, fall asleep, but Reiki naps with. I don't know what it is about an energetic nap, but you just wake up feeling so refreshed. And the best thing I can do to say to people about the trusting is I tell people, if at the end you say, I didn't get anything, like this did not work, I'll refund you money, right? Because I know it works and I have never had anybody want their money back.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. We've talked about grief a lot, and that's a lot of the work that I do is helping moms with that by connecting with their child. But what specifically do you do in a session around grief and grief support?
I found on my own experience, my own journey with grief is I needed, again, that safe space. I needed that space where someone wasn't trying to make it better.
right? So many things that are said to us are out of discomfort on the other person's part. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And for the grief work that I do, when I have someone that comes in, and we all have some level of grief, right? Because there's life changes. The loss of a child is its own level of grief.
Sure.
And all who are grieving need a place to allow their nervous system to reset. When I work with someone who is processing grief, I'm creating a space so if they need to cry, if we need to just relax and not think about a freaking thing, that's what they can do. And so it's not so much a technique, it's I create a space for people to ask what they need in eloquence and energy work to calm the nervous system. And when we're grieving, our nervous systems are all gentle and we're tight, no tense. And sometimes we don't even know it because we've been holding on to it for so long. And it's this opportunity to just
Let it go. And that's what I do in the work, is give people that opportunity to just relax their systems so that their bodies can do the healing that needs to happen.
And when you are relaxed and the body is healing, it allows your intuition to open up. It allows you to open up. And now that the other piece to a session is I'm creating space, helping you create a space where you can connect with your loved ones. I have people on my table all the time, distance in person doesn't matter, who have visits from their loved ones. And I get messages from loved ones as well. But what's more important to me is they have their loved ones than me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Knowing how true and how effective it is to connect with the person on the other side. I think this is beautiful work that you're doing. It's so beautiful. What else would you say to a grieving mom, especially about a spiritual practice to help them get into a space where these connections happen and they can trust them?
Yeah. I would say that creating that practice is a gift, like
Such a gift that you give it. To be able to receive those messages, to know that, to learn to trust those messages is you don't you can tell like there's a lot of emotion here because I know what it's to me, and so I know what it can mean to others.
Right.
And to receive those messages, for me, it's been like when I've least expected it, and I'm going to share a story now. I regularly talk with Walter. I sit in the morning, I sit in my silence, drinking my hot water is part of my spiritual ritual, and I'll talk with him about what's going on. And I'm currently, my house goes on the market tomorrow. And the house we bought together is the house we lived in for 4 years. And when I was repotting some plants, and so I take this one plant out of the pot, and it is root bound. Like it's got these massive roots, and I say to it, "Got some great roots there, kid." But the words come out of my mouth, and I go, "Well, it was Walter," because he called me kid.
Oh,
And so I'm thinking about that throughout the day, like I'm realizing it's him. And then I realize
what he's saying to me, like one of his biggest concerns
was that
we moved from New York to Virginia, where I live now, that I would be alone when he died. And he saw before he died that I created a great community here. And for me, that was his confirmation, telling me, like, you've got great roots. You've settled in. And so what I would say to moms, I want to apologize for this move, but I'm not going to because
no, don't.
absolutely not.
what I would say is it's such a gift to create that connection so you can get those messages. Because they mean a lot.
Yeah, they mean everything. And I think that you touched on another aspect of what I like to teach moms to do, and that is talk to them. I talk to Levi every day. He transitioned back to spirit. Next month will be 13 years ago. And I'm still in connection with him. And it's a relationship now,
Yes.
and I understand how it's a relationship. And I had a story recently where we moved recently as well, came back to the States, and I was kind of setting up house and I was walking around. I was talking to Levi, and I remember I was bending down to put something in the waste bin, and I just blurted out, "Hey, you need to find a way to say hello." The next day, one of his friends I haven't heard from in 2 years sent me a picture of a mountain that had a heart shape on it. But what he wrote was, "Levi says hi." Thanks, Levi. That's how the relationship evolved. I can talk to him and he can respond. And it is beautiful. It really is. And I thank you for being so vulnerable about it today. I know it hasn't even been a year yet.
And I want to say that to the moms who are listening is know that the messages aren't always like direct. I mean, I think your story is a great example of saying you need a partner to say hello, and the message comes from a friend, right? Because I have friends who are mediums and connected spiritually, I'll get a call or a text message. Walter said, if I've turned off, if I'm not connecting with him, he will find another way. I'm going in another door. I'm going to let you know.
Yeah. It actually, the method that we've used most of the time, I ask for a sign, a message, and one of his friends sends it. And it's not always the same. There's about 7 different ones. And we're talking 13 years of this, right? I'll ask, boom, one of them pops it with the response. And for me, it was because I knew I wouldn't trust myself and trust this because they don't know I'm asking for that message, right? And you've just demonstrated this. You have a community of people who know you want to hear from Walter. So I say make that loud and clear to everyone, to all of your child's friends, to all of your family and friends. And if they don't believe it, that's fine. But make it known that you're open to receiving those messages and they'll come through in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would say to a grieving mom?
I would say your journey is your journey, and to honor your journey, however it looks, the steps that you take, what you're feeling. There is no, I'm going to say unfortunately, because as we grieve, we want to know like what's next. How do what are the steps? There's no path. Like we are forging our own. Every path is unique, and to honor that and to know that, find the people who honor the path, your path, versus the people who say, well, by now, never.
I know exactly what you're about. I actually worked with a mom who 1 month into it, people were telling her she needed to get over it. 1 month. And no, you cry for years. Every different year. Oh.
I'm very new in my grief journey, and it's a husband and not a child. Totally different path, honoring that in my speaking. And I think that one of the things I've learned is how to have joy and grief, like the both and of them. And so people are like, well, you're doing so well. And there are times where I'm a mess, right? It's the both and honoring that and giving myself grace and love for that path. And that's what I would say to moms is find the people who give you grace and love.
Yeah. And that's finding the right community to be around, because one of the things that'll happen is what you just said. Oh, I'm so glad you're over it. I'm so glad you're doing better. It doesn't honor what's really going on. You're just trying to make the day. And so finding people that you can laugh around and they still know that you're on a path, know that you're not there to make them comfortable.
Well, I think that's a great point, is that You're not there to make them comfortable. Like, that's part of your path, right?
Yeah.
Make it better for others.
Right. What else would you tell us about the Reiki? Give us some examples of things that clear through Reiki.
Oh my gosh. Like, there's so many.
Reiki is the reality. Part of it is the willingness of people to do the work, because it's not, there's a group of people who are, I call them the one and doneers.
And they're like, I just want one. Sure, I want it all to be done. Well, we'll talk about grief. Grief isn't a one and done. Grief is an ongoing process, and things surface, and we're peeling layers. And
We have, for me, like, there's the grief of leaving a house that Walter and I bought together, right? There's another layer of grief. There's another layer that comes up. So I'll give you anything. Yesterday, clients that I work with, someone came in and she was like, I am just, my energy is all over the place, and my head is like, we get done profession. And she's like, I don't know, what you did. But with my head feels like it is great. And then that person wanted to, he said, I feel disassociated from my body. I want my body and my head to reconnect. We get done with the session. I get a message from her a few hours later. She's like, this is the best I've felt in a long one. I'm trying to think with I've had people come in with menstrual cramps, and the menstrual cramps are gone. Headaches, the aches in there. The body does is it tells us when somebody's happening spiritually, it will often manifest physically. And the hips, we hold a lot of grief. And in the chest, we hold the lungs of their grief. So releasing, I will tell you that in my own work around grief, the energetic releasing of grief has allowed me to breathe much deeper and much better. The one after I had done salute to Prince, where he was breathing, and I went, oh no, I need to take the beat. I know that grief is in the lungs, but to experience it was totally different. So energy work can give you the space to do the grief, because again, to be heightened with that self-protective shell of not wanting to feel. Fortunately, my perception of the only gray ruler is to feel it, and it sucks to feel it, and we need to create space to feel it.
Yeah. Oh, I have so enjoyed having you today. And there was a couple points where I was thinking, oh, I'm sending moms to you who need to have some of those cry sessions. Would be great, because my work is a little bit past that point. But I think that is such a great space to hold for moms. And also, what's the best way for our listeners to find you and connect with you?
Thank you for asking that. Healing with Yvette, YVETTE, is that my website is Healing with Yvette. I'm on Facebook as Healing with Yvette. I'm on Instagram, and I'm on YouTube. It's all Healing with Yvette. I make it really easy.
Perfect.
It's the best ways to connect with me. By the way, you can schedule a discovery call if you're like, okay, I do have some questions about this, Yvette. You can discovery call, and we could talk and take care of your concerns and to see whether we're a fit. And I tell you that if we're not, I am really okay with saying to you, I don't think I'm the best fit, but I know somebody who would be a better fit.
Yeah.
And I think that's important when you work with, you want someone that's you're comfortable with in your energy. And so even if you come to me and you're like, I don't think I'm the best, do you know somebody else?
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, thank you again for being with us here today, Yvette. And I hope that you will come back and we'll have more conversations about this in the future.
Can I share one other thing?
Absolutely.
On my website, if you can't find it under the resources, you can always feel free to reach out to me. I have a guide on how to connect with spirit and about how they send messages, whether it's through numbers or animals or dreams. And it's a guide on how to connect
and receive those signs. And I would love to offer it up to anybody who's interested. And again, if you can't find it on the resources page for whatever reason, feel free to email me, send me a Facebook message and say, I can't find that guide. Please send it to me. I'd be glad.
I'll put that link in the show notes. You
Okay.
can click on that link and grab that guide. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. All right. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much, Sean.